here, Dr. Judy WTF, what the Freud. I'm Dr. Judy Rosenberg, and I have a center called the Psychological Healing Center. And you can come here, you can Zoom in, you can call me for consultation, take care of your psychological needs. And I think one of our psychological needs, which I'm going to be addressing today, and I have addressed this in many different from many different angles. And so the concept is E equals MC squared. So some of you might be thinking, what the Freud does Einstein's formula have to do with anything psychological? Well, like everything else that I talk about, it is a metaphor. And it is a metaphor for what makes things work. So if you look at the formula carefully, you've got E, which stands for energy, equals mass, which stands for the mass of the object. And then there's a C. And what does that stand for? It is a constant. E equals MC squared. There it is. E, energy, equals the mass times the constant squared. So what are we referring to by the metaphor of the constant? Well, you can see that this formula will not work without the constant C. This is what makes it all work. So I'm going to substitute the word constant for the word commitment, because a commitment is a constant. And without a commitment, without something consistent and constant, nothing seems to work. And the example that I will give to you is my recommitment to Taekwondo. I dropped out of Taekwondo about 17 years ago. It was the biggest regret of my life. I attained a black belt at the time, very proud. But then I thought, oh, well, I hit the high point and now I'm done. Well, I was done. And unfortunately, my body declined with it. And so it was one of the dumbest mistakes I've ever made. And then about 4 months ago, I called my Master Chong and I said, Master Chong, I miss you. I'm really embarrassed. I haven't been there for years. He goes, oh, he's a Korean man. I love his accent. He goes, Jordy, you come back. You come Wednesday, 9:30. Friday, group class, 12 noon. And all I said was, yes, sir. And so in a very short amount of time, he had me recommitted to something that I dreaded going back to, because Taekwondo is not exactly a light sport or a light workout. It is heavy duty. It requires strength. It requires flexibility. It requires skill. And mine were all really kind of headed south. And so I was obviously scared to walk back into the dojo and face the inconsistency that I insisted on for 17 years. So what's my point here is that I got back involved, and we'll see what's worth getting involved with and not, and where do you put your constancy and how do you keep that constancy, whether it's a commitment to a relationship, an exercise routine, a food plan, studying, a career path, whatever you're doing, if you don't have some kind of a constancy behind you, it will soon fall apart. So let's go to the mind map and mind map what I just said, and so that you could see it in a more actionable format. So you've got the light in the background, and let's call the light your commitment, your consciousness of being committed, because as Max Planck says, commitment consciousness is causal. And so when you come from a commitment consciousness, things are going to line up in a different way than if you're not committed. The spots all over the light are all the resistance points that get in the way of your commitment. I'm too tired. I'm lazy. I don't feel well. Ow, my back hurts. Oh, I have to make some important phone calls. Yeah, I know I said I would do it, but give myself a break. I deserve a break. And not that any of those things aren't in and of themselves valid. And sometimes we're not exactly on target with our consistency. However, if we erode our consciousness of consistency and commitment, all we're going to have is blockages and shadows. And so let's go to panel number 2. So what happens if you pay attention to your resistances and your blockages and your shadows is that you're going to get shattered. So panel 2 is the amygdala. What is the amygdala? It is the emotional brain. It's the part of your brain that's fight, flight, freeze, and fawn. So if you're not on a commitment track, then you're shattering what you built. And so the metaphor is shattered glass. It's kind of a mess. It's all over the place. It cuts you. It does not do anything to build anything or to calm you down and create a sense of peace, consistency, commitment, future building. And so without that constancy of commitment, you then move into panel number 3. And panel number 3 is poor encoding. So if you look at that DNA strand, you could see that the DNA strand represents how you encode yourself. And if you're not consistent with your workout, consistent with your food plan, consistent with your communication skills, consistent with keeping your word, then you're building a faulty blueprint. And so this DNA strand is the first poor encoding. And just from a physical point of view, if you're not consistent and you're building a lazy blueprint, what's going to hurt? Well, I'm the first to attest to this. Your back's going to hurt, your shoulders are going to hurt, you're going to be in misalignment. Your diet is going to suffer because if you're not exercising, then why not have that extra piece of cake, or why not have anything that doesn't require for you to feel fresh and strong and motivated to get going? And so this first blueprint is what I call the blueprint gone wrong. Now I'm going to move to applying the constancy to your relationships, because I do a lot of couples therapy. So in couples therapy, what happens when one person is committed and the other person is not? So let's move to panel 4 and I can show you metaphorically what that looks like. So you've got a bond there. You've got the green and blue bond and the pink and orange yellow bond, and they're supposed to be wrapped around each other in unison, but they're not, because somebody is not in the game. Somebody is not committed. And so if you're in a relationship that is not committed, things are not nailed down. There's no consistency. There's no pattern. There's no regularity. There's no dependency in a good way, a dependency on the other person, because everything is just up in the air. And so as you can see by panel number 4, it doesn't make for the building blocks of anything solid. And so this is the panel that I call chaos. So inconsistency creates a lot of toxicity, as you can see by the metaphor of the toxic haze, a lot of discombobulation, as you could see from the figures flying off into space, a lot of what I would call is like a danger zone. Like there's unfoundational. That's the word that I'm looking for. No foundation. So what happens when there's no foundation is we go into something called our defense mechanisms. And what our defense mechanisms is mechanisms that we use to protect ourselves. So when we're in chaos, when we don't have anything consistent to rely on, we fall into this crazy pattern of wanting to defend anything that might hurt us, because in chaos, we are more vulnerable. So we might do certain attempts to reduce our vulnerability by maybe blocking things, and oh, okay, I'll pause for a minute. We have a question here. I will answer it, and then I'll go back into panel number 5, defense mechanisms. Yeah, what is the question, please?
Yes, and also anybody in the chat room or on Facebook, on YouTube, please give us a call. You can talk to Dr. Judy on the phone. You don't have to identify yourself. You can make up a name, but you can call 323-524-2599. But the question is, what strategies do you recommend for maintaining high levels of a commitment in the face of adversity?
Well, I would say definitely have somebody that you can be accountable to. I'm not, I'll speak for myself. I'm not particularly good at self-generating and holding myself accountable. If I were really good at that, I wouldn't need as much support system and exercise coaches and Taekwondo masters and teachers and so on. If you are a self-generator, if you can keep your word to yourself, I congratulate you. I think that is quite an accomplishment. Sometimes things like simply writing it down, time blocking, putting things on your schedule, forming a habit that does happen over a period of time of repetition. I believe it takes about 28 or 30 days to form a habit. So if you want to start something that's going to ingrain itself into the fiber of your being, then you just have to keep repeating it and repeating it and repeating it. One of the things that I do self-initiate is my yoga classes. I don't have a yoga instructor. I have classes to choose from. And for sure, it helps me when I go online, reserve the spot, lock it in. If I do that and maybe lock in 2 or 3 classes a week, I am locked in. And even though nobody is putting any threat over my head if I don't show up, I feel a different level of commitment just because it's in my calendar and it's in my consciousness to keep my word to myself, because now it's bigger than just a thought in my head. It's actually something that I reserved from my app to their app. And so now I have a spot in the class. So I think that the more that you can do that and create people that you're accountable to and programs that hold you in place, like my master does, there's not much wiggle room. I cannot be late. That is just not okay. And I am a person that is not the most timely person in the world, but around my master, I'm on time. And if I'm a minute late, I suffer because I know what's coming. And so I think that if you surround yourself with people who are committed, who are serious, who don't waste their own time, they won't waste your time. And so this kind of stuff is catchy. Commitment is catchy. And commitment also means consistency. If you ever look at people who are successful in their careers, one thing that you could see is that they repeat day by day their assigned tasks. They have a schedule. They have goals. They move up the scale of evolution with their goals. They have people around them to support them. They have people, hopefully, that are a little smarter than they are to help them learn. And so everything sort of has to be in place for us to evolve and grow up that evolutionary ladder. So let me go back to couples therapy, which I do a lot of, and the problems that I face is that sometimes one person is committed and the other person is not as committed or not even committed. What to do then? Well, it's really, really difficult because until 2 people decide to form a we, it is really, really difficult to have that without the participation of both parties. Going back to defense mechanisms, what do we do when things are out of order, when we do not have a solid structure, when things are falling apart? Well, we tend to fall into defense mechanisms. and mine was laziness. I'll just sleep through it, or I'll just, I don't know, just kind of put my mind in another place, and I won't show up to class, or I won't show up to wherever I said I would show up to. So we have to identify our defense mechanisms. Some people like to smoke to defend against their anxiety. Some people like to drink. Some people like to overeat. Some people like to do a bunch of things. Some people are on the computer all day. And so defense mechanisms are a way to lose our commitment, or at least unplug from them. Very nice to unplug from your commitments for a while, but imagine if you take a 17-year break from something that was really evolving you, like my Taekwondo, which I thought was really evolving me. But, I got stuck in the shadows and the defenses, and I got stuck in my excuses until usually you have to do something one step more to get yourself going. So you have two choices. Number one, you can get proactive with it and make that call and sign up for the mind map process, for example, or your workout process, or your art classes, or the job that you're seeking, or the classes that you have to take to get there. Whatever it is, you have to do it proactively, or you can wait till things break down for you. And by breakdown, I mean that in my personal case, I wasn't feeling very well sitting in this chair all day and not working out and not stretching and allowing my body to just sink into the chair, which creates all kinds of back pains and instability and so on. And so unless you get proactive, you're going to have reactive results from your lack of commitment, whether it be commitment toward exercise. This is the same for a food plan, by the way. If you keep going out of your plan, let's say you have a plan to eat more organic foods and more fiber and better quality protein and drink more water and really take care of yourself, you could fall out a little bit. Don't they recommend that you have a cheat day every once in a while? Okay, if you can, sure. However, if you're not back on track, back in a committed pattern of eating, then you can only do that for so long until things fall apart. So let's look at panel number 6 so that we can see what happens when we fall apart and break down. So panel 6 is the breakdown breakthrough panel. So this is where the rubber meets the road. This is where you wake up one morning and things just don't feel right, or you wake up and think, oh my God, I missed the opportunity to do what I love. I've always wanted a you fill in the blank, whatever that is. And then you think, oh, it's too, you go back into your defense mechanisms. Oh, it's too late. Oh, I'm too old. Oh, I can't do it anymore. There's too many other things to do. And then you delay it even further until one day something breaks, whether your relationship breaks down, your body breaks down, the opportunities start disappearing. And sometimes it does take a breakdown to have a breakthrough. However, when you are in a consciousness of consistency, it is very important to stay proactive. And what does proactive mean? Is you've got to be behind the 8 ball, or else you'll be in front of the 8 ball and you'll get run over by the 8 ball. You don't want that to happen. Is there a question in the chat room?
We do have a question.
Okay.
Yes. So they said, in what ways does the E equals MC squared suggest overcoming procrastination and maintaining momentum in your life?
Okay, so let's say energy equals momentum, right? I'm just pulling metaphors here.
Right.
So let the E be the energy, the momentum, and the mass is the actual steps that you have to take to get that momentum going. So the mass is more the substance of it. Sign up for the class, get your paperwork together, fill up your car with gas so that you can get there. And the energy really is your intention to fulfill on this. And now you've got to have the constancy, because no matter how good your intentions are, no matter how many classes you sign up for and put things together in a good way to make it happen, unless you are consistent with it, nothing from nothing is nothing. So I could say, well, okay, I'll go back to class and we'll see how it goes, and then go to one class and then decide, oh my gosh, I'm so horrible at Taekwondo. I haven't done it in 17 years. I'm the worst in the class, which I am, by the way. Okay. And I can look at all the other students and say they're so much younger than I am, which they are, and so much stronger than I am, which they are. Or I could just say, you know what? Congratulations that you even showed up. Congratulations that you are allowing yourself the space to improve, and even to give yourself the liberty of non-judgment, so that you're not feeling like you're some kind of a fool in the class. So sometimes you've got to take that pressure off of yourself and suspend judgment and allow yourself to be incompetent. Now, speaking of which, what if your core belief is that you are incompetent, or that you're not good enough, or that you're a loser? Any of those core beliefs can interfere with your progress, because those core beliefs are going to eat up your progress. It's going to destroy your commitment, because those core beliefs are going to overshadow and rob you of the constancy by sabotaging. Okay, so remember, the energy is the energy you put forth. The mass is all the things that you've got to do. And then the consistency, the constancy is what it makes the magic. It makes everything work. Was there a question there?
No, they're just chatting now, but that they said that you are answering it perfectly. So
Oh, okay, okay. If I've missed something, and I really do prefer call-ins, because it's so much more fun to talk to you guys and get into your lives and see what the Freud is going on, and then have an opportunity for me to personalize what your life is facing in terms of the challenge. So there isn't a single thing that I can think of that works if there's no constancy. So we all know projects that we start, that we abandon. We all know people that we have committed to and started a relationship with that we didn't consistently keep up and maintain. We all know everything, and anything requires energy, right? And it requires all the things that you put into it, but then it requires for you to do that on a consistent basis. Now, speaking of consistent basis, who do you want to put your energy into, and who do you not want to put your energy into? And this is a topic that I've been on for many, many years. And as many of you know, I specialize in narcissism, and I define narcissism as a system gone wrong, where the family puts their own needs before the needs of a child, flips the system, and and then the child feels like they are the parents, or fulfilling on their parents, or holding their parents up. And then they repeat that in relationships, or they repeat that in work environments. So what you don't want to do is, you don't want you to put your constancy into somebody who is vampiring your energy. And that is truly the what the Freud is, when you keep investing and investing, you're putting your energy in, you're putting your time, your your goodwill into people consistently who are not capable of giving back. They're not capable of reciprocating. They're not capable of growing on your light. And you're not capable of discerning who to put this energy into and who not to put this energy into. So definitely you don't want to put your constancy into people who are narcissistic and lack empathy. You don't want to put your constancy into a work environment that you're not gaining from. You don't want to put your constancy into an exercise program if it's not solid and intelligently designed and has a good backup plan of good staff and quality classes and quality equipment, et cetera, et cetera. So do you just randomly put your constancy into anything? Of course not. One of my favorite things to do, I used to love doing flipping of apartments and homes and so on. And I would put a lot of energy into fixing up homes and apartment buildings. And sometimes it required that I re-roof a property or I re-plumb a property or I look at the foundation and shore up the foundation. So you can't half-ass these things. You can't just say, well, okay, maybe I'll just do a little bit of this or a little bit of that. So it's important to know that if you're going to invest all this time and money and energy and equipment into building something and consistently putting all of this in, you should make sure that you're putting it into the right building or the right person. So imagine putting all that money into a building or, even a house or a building that's just not going to sell very well or is in a horrible location and or in a horrible fire zone and you can't get proper fire insurance because that's what's happening now is that insurance companies are pulling out or charging an arm and a leg for fire insurance for properties. So again, I'm talking metaphorically. I'm using these examples to psychoeducate you to be discerning in terms of who you invest in and who you divest yourself from. So if you're finding that you've been consistent and pumping energy and time and money and your resources and even your heart and your emotions into certain relationships and they're just draining you, they're using you, they're taking your life force, then you stop. You've got to recalibrate. And sometimes, even though you've made all of these investments, you've got to take that constancy out of the formula. So let's put that formula back, E equals MC squared. What's going to happen to the energy? Your energy stops. The mass, all the things that you do for that project, person, etc., is going to disappear. And then you will have zero, no energy, no mass, no constancy, zero. But if you keep pumping your constancy into the wrong person or the wrong project, you're going to have a deficit, meaning if it's the wrong building, you're going to lose money. If it's the wrong stock, you're going to lose money. If it's the wrong person, you're going to lose a lot of things. You're going to lose money if you've got to get a divorce or separate your property. You're going to lose connection with all the people that you've built up around them. You might lose access to full custody of your children. You might lose your sanity because now you've got to go through a grief, withdrawal of the person. You've got to examine your core beliefs and what this breakup has triggered in you, and it becomes a big load of energy, a lot of energy, and that energy is not going to be building you, it's going to be draining you. and the mass, in this case, your resources, are going to start to dwindle, all because you've invested consistently in the wrong person, the wrong project, the wrong career, the wrong anything. You fill in the blanks. Any questions or comments in the chat room about this?
There is a question, and it actually comes at more of a business side.
Sure.
And in which I, as a businessman myself, this might actually throw some good ideas towards me. What are the key traits of a communicated or committed leader, and what can inspire and motivate their teams?
That's a great question. So this is an area of interest. I've always been interested in helping people elevate themselves, even financially. So, and corporate wise, for sure. But what are the key elements of a leader? I think a leader has something to offer the people underneath them. You've got to offer them a proper salary. You've got to offer them some kind of benefits that they want out of it. You need communication with the people that you're hiring to make sure that it's a good fit. You want to make sure that you truly understand their needs. You really have to be bold enough to ask the right questions and allow the other person to be comfortable enough telling you their truth about what their needs are and if you guys are a good fit. Because if you're not a good fit, you shouldn't be marching off into a business with them. Whether they're just an employee of yours or whether you're partnership. Synergy. Okay, so let me go to synergy. I think that'll answer it even more thoroughly. Panel number 7. 1 plus 1 has to be greater than 2. So you plus the person on your team has to make each other better people. So if you're profiting and they're losing, not good. If they're profiting and you're, if you're profiting and they're losing, that's not synergy. If they're profiting and you're losing, that's not synergy. So you have to be very realistic with yourself and be able to discern what they need to do to enhance you and what you need to do to enhance them. So if you feel that this synergy is happening, and this can come in many forms. Some people bring to the table their ideas, and some people bring to the table their physicality. They're able to just do things. Some people bring to the table their ability to solve problems. Okay, and all of that, again, it's energy and mass. But again, if they're not consistent, if they keep showing up late, if they keep standing you up, if they're messing with your time and your schedule, and if they keep renegotiating the deal, that should be a red flag that there's not going to be a lot of consistency and commitment. So it doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be, look, this is the general structure. If you need time off or you want to change the deal, give me notice, because that even notice is a sign of consistency. So I'm not going to be there. Okay, great. Thank you for telling me, but I'm not going to be there last second unless you're in an emergency situation. But I think a big part of it too is respect. And if you're a narcissist and you lack empathy and you're unable to put yourself in another person's shoes, it's hard to respect the other person because you don't care. You simply don't care. It's all about you. But if you truly care about the other person, you will want to be consistent because you don't want to disrupt their world, their schedule, and you're going to make extra effort to make sure that if you have to make changes, they're not going to suffer or they have plenty of heads up about it. So again, this doesn't have to be perfect, but we do have to be proactive with other people and give them heads up. I run a practice. Not everybody's going to show up. However, if they don't honor a 24-hour cancellation policy, they're going to be charged because they just bought an hour of my time and I can't fill that hour. If they give me, let's say, 24 hours in advance, sure, they don't have to pay for that time. They can uh, do their thing, and then I can release that hour and make that hour available to somebody else. So a part of it is ethics, a fairness, a sense of fairness. Do you have any other questions around that, Tony, about who to hire and how do you run a company and be the best boss that you can be and get the best out of the relationship with you and the other people on the team? Any other?
I guess, I mean, this is coming directly from me as a business owner,
Mhm.
and I used to work in human resource for many when I was younger, for many years. But when people do the interview process, that is a big communication part of the sealing the deal,
Yes.
and that commitment. So I guess, even just as trying to build a relationship with somebody in a business or building a relationship, somebody personal, that commitment of how do you break through? Because a lot of people, they lie on their resumes. They
Mhm.
they can talk a big game, in the interview process, but when they actually get hired and start working, the true self comes out. So how do,
Yes, it sure does. So I would say, and you're giving me some good thoughts here for myself as well, is put people on a, let's say, a 30-day trial. Don't lock in your commitment.
there you go.
Just say, let's go, let's see you in action. You'll
Mm-hmm.
see me in action. Let's try this on for size. You don't have to be committed to a question mark. You're committed to results. You're committed to a person that shows up, not to an idea that they're going to show up. And then you see how they function. And then within that period of time, you can do my favorite things: self reflect, self correct, see if they self reflect, see if they self correct. And then through the relationship, see if you can morph together and form a structure that's going to be enhancing the other. Now, in your particular case, because I've known you for a long time, right? I think we've known each other for what, over 10 years? Is that
Oh
correct?
yeah, I think 12 or 13.
Yeah, so one of the things about you, Tony, is that you're so easy to work with. You're a very pleasant person. I'm never afraid of you. I'm never nervous to tell you something that I think could be changed or
Oh yeah,
improved.
no,
I think there's always,
yeah.
you're amazing at that. You make people feel very comfortable and safe. And so I would definitely capitalize on that quality. And not that you're going to change, but that's a really, really important quality to have, because when you make people nervous, then they might want to go underground and go passive aggressive,
Right.
or pretend that they're doing better than they really know how to do. But if you make it safe for them and say, look, I'm not expecting you to be perfect, but just come to me if you run into a problem, and I'm here to assist you to make sure that you're gonna do what you say that you're gonna do and what I need you to do. So just, come to me. We'll work together. So that way it's more of a partnership than somebody that's trying to please you. Because there are a lot of people pleasers that they can't really please because they don't have the skills.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I agree with that. Well,
So you
and
don't
thank
have
you
to.
for the compliment, by the way.
You're welcome, and it's all true. And that's one of the reasons why it makes it easy and smooth. You want to make it easy and smooth for people.
Right.
So that's one of the things that I like to do for the people who come to the Psychological Healing Center. Easy and smooth, they're greeted. It's not a formal, uptight environment. I have a beautiful environment here. We serve coffee, tea, and whatever you want. It's welcoming, it's homey, and yeah, it's important. It's important. So, in order to have a committed relationship, people need to be committed to communication. And to help people with their communication skills, I designed what I have in my book and also on my website called the Peaceful Healing Dialogue. And it's a way to communicate with each other without breaking the bond, without burning bridges, without insulting people, without putting pressure on people. You could just say the truth and get things on the table that need to be discussed, and then go into solution mode and solve the problem and reshuffle the deck on the relationship and the contract. Because every now and then contracts need refreshing, right? People want a raise, or they want more days off, or they want whatever, better office space or newer furniture or better snacks in the snack room, whatever they want. So I think that's another thing, is being proactive and caring for the people that work for you, caring for them much like you would care for a family member. Make sure that they are comfortable and that they are comfortable coming to you if they need to make changes or request more. Any other questions in the chat room?
No other questions at this time, anyway.
Okay, so let's go on with panel number 8. So when you have synergy, you have a chance to build a better model. So E, your energy, and the mass, all the stuff you put into the project is going to build a better DNA strand. And if you look at this DNA strand, you could see there's consistency in the pattern. You see, the old DNA was also consistent, but it was consistent in a bad pattern. So this is locking you into better habits, better choices, better people, better, cleaner environment, better exercise, better food, better choices, everything, everything. So this is a metaphor for evolving, and you could see that it's very difficult to evolve alone. As I mentioned, it's real difficult for me to get anything done if I'm not accountable to another person. That's why I do the radio show. It's been consistent for 10 years. Sure, I take a break. It's summertime. Sometimes I do reruns, but in general, for 10 plus years, I've been consistently doing the Dr. Judy WTF show. And there's something really nice about consistency. People feel contained, they feel safe. Okay, and that's exactly what we need to form a healthy human psyche. If we have inconsistent parenting, if we have inconsistent family rules and roles, we're going to fall into chaos, defenses, and breakdowns. And so, in order to build this better DNA, we need the constancy. We need to have the energy for it to climb up the ladder. We need the physical ladder, but we also have to have the consistency of continuing the climb, of consistently taking the necessary steps to improve ourselves and make adjustments to hone our skills and keep things on track and challenge ourselves so that we keep evolving. If I went to the gym and I lifted the same 10-pound dumbbell all the time, and I never increased the weights or increased the repetitions, I would probably just maintain. Okay, and if you want to maintain that, that's great. I wish I would have just maintained my Taekwondo. That would have been fantastic, but I devolved. And so if you want to maintain, you want to be consistent. If you want to improve, you want to consistently challenge yourself. add another pound, add another day, put a little bit more stress on yourself so that your muscles accommodate. Even with relationships, put a little bit more stress on the relationship, not in a bad way, but in an inviting way. I want more of this, or I want more communication, or I want to do more fun things with you. You see, sometimes consistency can be challenging. Consistently challenge the relationship. I don't mean just constancy, the doldrums, day in and day out, although those things are really great as a basis, but sometimes you have to consistently challenge, or else you're just going to stay the same. Any other questions or comments in the chat room?
No calls. We'd love to have you call, but no other questions. Just people talking.
Okay, all right. And you're welcome to reach out to me at the Psychological Healing Center. And please download a copy of my book. And that's my other website for my big global message, Healing Global Disconnect, and then the Psychological Healing Center. That's the book you can order on Amazon, or you can get a free PDF. And there is my Healing from Narcissistic Abuse video, which you can reach out to me about purchasing and combining it with services from other team members and myself included. And so the main thing is you want to consistently, going back to mental health, you want to consistently grow. You want to consistently have support. You want to consistently be in an environment where other people are helping you to evolve psychologically. You want to consistently access people who can help you do that. If you're a self-generator, good for you, but I think that everybody needs somebody to give them a little more guidance, education, push, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing weak about that. And again, if you want to reach out to me, you're more than welcome to do so. And thank you, everyone, for joining in, and I'll see you next time.